Well, good afternoon or good morning. You never know when you're watching this podcast. Welcome to the President's Podcast at the Council on Occupational Education. My name is Kirk Nooks. I serve as president here, and I am delighted to come to you today with another edition, this time featuring one of our talented chief administrators at one of our member institutions. And I have with me today Dr. Clay Christensen from Mountainland Technical College in Utah. If you have not been to the Mountainland campus, you are certainly missing something. It's a beautiful campus, multiple campuses, but I could go on and on about the institution. But the fabulous individual I have with me today is the president there. This individual has been at the institution for quite some time. We're going to climb into that. Not only that, he was our 2024 winner of our Hall of Fame Chief Administrator Award. He was also host to the Guess Who's Coming to Dinner for the 2026 Spring Accreditation Institute. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend Dr. Clay Christensen and ask him to give us just a few nuggets about himself and about his institution. Clay?
Thanks, Dr. Nooks. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about technical education, something I'm very passionate about. I've spent a great deal of time working with. Just very briefly, from a personal perspective, I'm a husband and father to 3 great children and 5 wonderful grandchildren. I'm an avid horseman, participate in team roping and American Quarter Horse Association horse shows and the reining and working cow horse. A little bit about my background. I worked in public education prior to coming to Mountainland for 24 years. I served 7 years as an instructor for agriculture and welding and as an FFA advisor. Worked 5 years at the Utah State Office of Education as a program specialist and the state advisor for Utah FFA and the Young Farmers Educational Institution. Then I worked 12 years in school district administration. I've been president at Mountainland Technical College for 20 years now. During that time, and I'd like to point out that I've had the privilege and honor of working with a phenomenal team of individuals, and the success that's happened at the college is in great part to the work that they do to help people better their lives through technical education. But during that time that I've worked here at Mountainland, our student body has grown from about 1,200 students. We're now over 7,000 students.
Wow.
We have about 1,500 students on waiting lists right now to get in our programs. They're in very high demand. We have 39 different programs in 5 occupational programmatic areas. Our employees have grown from about 70 employees to we just passed over 700 employees. We have 6 campus locations. When I started, we were in begged, borrowed, leased, sometimes condemned space. We have 6 campus locations with 14 buildings. Several of those campuses have in excess of 100,000 square feet for each of those areas. So that'll give you a little bit of an overview about myself and about Mountainland Technical College that we'll get into a little further detail here in just a moment.
Wow, Clay, just listening to all of those accomplishments, I credit you. I know I believe in the same philosophy. We did not have these, if you want to call it, accomplishments on our own. It's largely the staff and folks we work with. Without the people, we don't exist. We don't get to do the jobs we do or have the fun we have without the people. And that definitely comes through, not only in this conversation, but when I came to visit your campus as one of the first institutions I visited, I saw that in spades. So I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for your leadership throughout your years and what you have meant to the people who have worked for you as well. And that leads me to my first question. When you're thinking about leadership, again, you were recognized as our 2024 Chief Administrator, Hall of Fame recipient. That was certainly attributed to all that you have accomplished and all that you introduced. But with that, looking across your tenure, thinking about your leadership perspective and principles, what's proven the most, if you want to call it, essential in building and sustaining a high-performing institution in a rapidly changing educational landscape?
Thank you for that question. From a personal perspective, I have looked at things and tried to lead by example. No one's job is more or less important than anyone else at an institution, whether it's a part-time custodian on up to the president's position. We all have a job to do. And if we're not all working in unison, if everyone's oars aren't in the water, the ship is going to go off course. And so we try to emphasize that and celebrate that and focus on the team that we have here so that we can help students be successful. I tell every one of our employees on a regular ongoing basis that I hope that they will have three priorities while they work here. The first one is their health. If they don't feel good, they're not going to be productive at work. They're not going to be able to help students reach their career goals and their occupational dreams, and so they need to be healthy. Secondly, their second priority should be their family, whatever that family unit looks like. If they're not happy at home, that carries over into the workplace. And I'm convinced that if we support people from their health and their family, that their third priority, and that's working here at the college, that they'll be successful. If you allow people to have a personal life and a family life, they'll give you 110%. We do some things here at our college that have proved to be very successful. The culture that we've tried to develop has been worked upon and had input from all facets: our students, our board of trustees, our advisory committees, our instructors. And so we have implemented some things. For example, the first day of school, when it starts in the fall, we try to cover so that all the young mothers and single fathers and those with young children can get their students or get their children on the bus to start school that first day. It's a very important function. And so we try to cover for one another. If someone's sick or ill or having problems, everyone pitches in and we help cover for one another so that that takes place. The other thing that we've done is based on feedback, we've enhanced maternity leave. We've implemented paternity leave for the young fathers so that they have time at home. Thinking back, those were some of the things that I left a burden on my wife of dealing with children and young infants at home. And so we want our fathers to be able to help in that situation as well. We've also done educational reimbursement. We have students that have obtained doctorate degrees from working here at the institution from educational reimbursement. And those pay big dividends in the long run. And there again, if you treat people the way that you want to be treated yourselves, try to remove barriers and help them in their professional endeavors, that certainly makes a huge difference. One of the other things that is so important is to base that whole culture to be student-centric, to focus on the students' needs. And very closely aligned with that is the needs of the MTech family here in our situation with our employees and staff. And if we keep that in mind in our decision-making process across the board, we can't go too far wrong. And we can wisely use the taxpayers' dollars in an effort to help students be successful.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm hearing that repeated theme of placing people and students, quite frankly, at the heart of everything we do. So making that investment in people, it may not always be in money, but in time and focus in our energy, definitely sets up an environment and culture that breeds a level of support and success. So again, thank you for that. With that, you're not only responsible for shaping, the sort of academic direction, but also in terms of setting institutional strategy, managing employer relationships at scale, responding to labor market shifts, and ensuring accountability for outcomes. How do you now personally define the role of a technical college president today? And how has that role shifted from when you stepped into leadership? You mentioned 20 years. I'm leaning into this one because I'd love to to be able to, pull some gems from you?
20 years ago, when I was first hired to be the president here, coming out of public education, they didn't tell me that in addition to being a curriculum leader, I'll also be a lobbyist, a government relations coordinator, a financier, a conflict mediator, would work in law enforcement, human relationship specialist, fundraiser, and of course the list goes on and on and on.
That's right.
For the vast responsibilities. To me, over the course of that time, the role has changed significantly in that there's a great deal more in accountability and justification from both state and federal entities. And we have to keep that at the top of our mind and the top of our efforts. And the second piece of that is we're very fortunate here in the state of Utah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't express sincere appreciation to our legislative branch, our executive branch. Those campuses and buildings exist because of the support from the taxpayers here in Utah, and focusing on the needs of technical education. And so those work closely with our legislative caucus, especially from our region and across the state, to ensure that we are addressing the needs of not only the college, but across the state as well to be part of that system. Today, in my opinion, the core driver and what we have focused on here, which has caused all of the other things, efficiency and finances, return on investment, is the establishment of strong quality programs and the systems that support them. We've worked very hard within our region to coordinate with our K-12 partners for those students and traveling on to Mountainland Technical College, onto our degree granting partners, not just at Utah Valley University, which is our regional partner, but across the entire state of Utah. We've worked with workforce services and industry advisory committees. If you have strong programs, you will produce, if we're looking at it from a business perspective, a quality product. In our case, in education, that's the student. They will always be in demand with business and industry. One of the ways that we have accomplished that, after working in secondary ed for a lot of years, we used to hire teachers that came fresh out of college. They knew educational pedagogy. They knew how to teach. They had been through methods. They'd been through student teaching, but they were not industry experts. At the technical college, it is just the opposite of that. We hire industry experts, but they may not be master teachers when they arrive to us. We've done a great deal of work to put them through a mini student teaching type experience, methods, psychology, and ongoing professional development so that we have the best of both worlds. We have industry experts that are now master educators. And that has been one of the keys to the success, I'm convinced, at our college. We use the Council on Occupational Education as a guiding star for the decision-making process, continual monitoring of CPLs, our strategic plan, the work that's being done on a regular basis. It enables us to be proactive rather than reactive because we have these tools in place, things such as advisory committees. And this extensive work that we're doing with the legislature for programming, program expansion, and to try to address those waiting lists that I mentioned earlier, as well as to compensate our individuals as to the best that we can. No one gets wealthy working in education, but we want them to be well compensated. They're here because they want to. And something that can be a little bit difficult for all of us to do because we tend to be a bit conservative in nature. It's important that our comms teams, or those that are helping us with that we toot our own horn and tell our story. Here at the Technical College, the message we take forth to the legislature is that for every taxpayer dollar that's spent here at MTech, the state of Utah gets $17.10 return in economic activity.
Wow.
That is a great message to bring forth, and that helps convince our executive branch, our legislative branch, and the taxpayers that this is a good investment, that you're helping technical colleges train the workforce.
Excellent. When we're talking about that return on investment, it's always to point out that that's the gift that keeps on giving. It's the amplifier effect. So it's not just today, but it's tomorrow. And you're elevating families, you're elevating the talent that's in the pipeline, and we all benefit from that. So using that same theme of the future, and the gift that continues giving across the country, technical colleges are increasingly expected to function as both education providers and workforce solution engines. How do you see the role of institutions like yours evolving over the next decade, particularly in demand for skilled labor? And how do you accelerate it across multiple industries?
Great question. I'm convinced that the workforce demand will continue to grow if our programs reflect the needs of business and industry and take a proactive approach. Institutions like MTech will continue to prosper if we embrace some of the things like AI. I'm convinced that the jobs that we train for within those 39 programs, that our graduates will obtain jobs. They will not be replaced by things such as AI, but if they do not remain current, be lifelong learners, and take the opportunity to constantly be upgrading their skill set, then they could be replaced by individuals that embrace AI.
Right.
Hybrid education, soft skills, those are all things that we must be proactive and up to date on. We can't be teaching curriculum that's dated or something that we approached years and years ago. And most importantly, it's imperative that our programs are in tune with our employers, and our students need to be trained on state-of-the-art equipment that they're going to see when they go out into the workforce. So we have a responsibility, whether it's through a legislative approach or foundation efforts, to ensure that those labs are providing opportunities for students to be successful and trained on that type of equipment. It's also imperative that we develop programs to respond to pinch points in the work sector. We were approached by one of the major companies here in the state of Utah, across the Intermountain West, Clyde companies. They were having trouble hiring individuals for civil construction, highway road construction and development. We worked with their team over there and our Office of Teaching and Learning and our content area experts to develop a curriculum for a 2-year program. We wrote grants here within Utah and federally to buy simulators that replicate heavy equipment, belly dumps, backhoes, trackhoes, so the students can be trained on that. And then worked with Clyde companies. They put their money where their mouth was in their needs and helped us on partnering and development of this program. So it's a great example of business support. The other thing that I greatly appreciated, the CEO and president of Clyde Companies was the chair of our board of trustees at the time that this took place. In fact, if you look on the MTech website, you'll see that our School of Trades is named after Clyde Companies because of the outstanding support that we've received. But the chair of our board of trustees at the time that helped us with the development of this program and this great partnership, he realized that the technical colleges, we don't train for just one company. We don't do programs that are just isolated for one company. And so once we ran that initial pilot, which was a 2-year program for entry, and then students can specialize their employees, so we do training for that. But after that initial pilot, he went out to his competition and recruited employees and students from their programs to come and enroll this program because much like education wanting to give back, he wanted to give back to an industry that he loves, that's been great to him and to their company. And so now we have Clyde companies and their competitors across the state that are involved in this program. So I think that's a great example what a true business and industry partnership should look like, and things that we can do in technical colleges looking down the road to be proactive.
Most definitely. And that's, again, just a wonderful example of partnership and people coming together to elevate the talent in the workforce. So thank you for that example. Again, thinking about presidential leadership earlier, I was smiling when you were talking about all these hats that presidents wear. Sometimes you walk into the situation, you don't realize I am wearing all of those hats, or quite frankly, that I'll need to wear all of those hats. So when we're thinking about the chief administrator level, What is it that you have to focus on staying ahead of in industry rather than reacting to it?
We have to be proactive in strategic reinvestment. Our perspective is that these are sacred dollars that come from the taxpayers. We have to use them very wisely. And when we look at strategic reinvestment, we have to be in tune with our business partners, with our educational partners. And we have to rely upon our instructors and our administrators to ensure that we're in tune with what their needs are. And if a program, here again, this is where COE and completion, placement, and licensure standards need to be monitored on a very regular basis, program by program, institution as a whole as well, to ensure that we're headed the right way. And if not, don't be afraid to teach out,
That's right. That's right.
to discontinue a program. Take those dollars and show the legislature how you're reinvesting those so that you're helping to train the workforce. Mentioned a little bit earlier, embrace things like AI, not just in our IT programs, but across the board in all 39 of those programs. There are applications that we're going to see, and I've mentioned AI, but there's other technologies that are coming along that we need to embrace and not be fearful of, but embrace them and ensure that we're up to date with what the workforce needs. When the technical colleges were established in the state of Utah many years ago, they were tasked to be nimble and responsive. And that's something that we can do. We can change direction quickly. We can monitor trends with workforce services and our employers. We can respond to advisory committee recommendations, and we have to do it quickly. That is the curriculum review process that can be quite cumbersome with some of the degree granting institutions. That's a very, very slow process. But in essence, if a recommendation is made on a Wednesday evening from an advisory committee, our instructors, our program directors, they can begin implementation the following morning. They can start responding to that so that we are in tune with what's happening and being responsive to their needs. The other thing that we need to do is have two-way communication with business and industry, be education partners, talk to chambers of commerce, talk to new businesses, everything from the small mom and pop shops up to the corporate international businesses. We need to have that two-way communication that's going back and forth. And then we need to rely on those businesses that might be reluctant and say, we can't make financial contributions. No, you may not be able to sponsor scholarships or be a building sponsor for construction of a new building, but we need your expertise. We need your knowledge. We need you to help advise us. Come and serve on an advisory committee. We have over 575 individuals that serve on advisory committees at our college, which just blows me away. But their input is invaluable. And in order for us to stay cutting edge and ahead of the curve, it's imperative that we have their input.
Wow. So I'm hearing, cutting edge. I'm hearing responding to the needs of employers and the industry. Sometimes people may listen in on that, and they might say, "Wow, these credentials that technical colleges offer are not, quality, or it's done so quickly." Given the emerging conversation about the value of all types of post-secondary credentials, what would you believe is still misunderstood about the career and technical education in the U.S., and what shifts are necessary to elevate skills-based pathways as a first choice option for students and their families?
Question that I'm very passionate about. One of the reasons I've stayed around in education for just over 44 years now is because I've seen a shift. I've seen a change. When I first started, it was called practical arts, vocational education. And that was the place where the counselors sent all the students that couldn't succeed anywhere else, that they wanted to get out of their counseling office, that they just wanted to be rid of them.
Right.
And we need to be a spot for those students that may not fit in anywhere else in the school, but it's also a great location for the valedictorian. Had this discussion just recently about the value of AP credit, concurrent enrollment credit. In the state of Utah, technical education credit, of those 39 programs, 28 of those have pathways that, and we have them to the degree granting institutions here in the state of Utah, but I'll mention our regional partner at Utah Valley University. There, for someone who has a technical certificate from Mountainland Technical College, there are 28 pathways where they can earn up to 30 credits towards their associate degree just for completing that certificate. In the state of Utah, secondary students come to technical colleges tuition free. About 28% of our population are secondary students. The adults come at a low tuition rate. And so those students can take that certificate, have the first year of their associate degree completed, and there are 640 different credits that are available to them through that option. That enables us as a technical college. We just did our graduation, about 3,000 graduates that we had in our recent graduation. We had, it's grown so much that the facility that handles about 8,500 people, we had to split our graduation into 2 graduations because we filled it last year and the fire marshal got after us. So we split those into 2. Of that graduating class, 99.7% of them graduated debt-free. And that is done through Pell Grants. It's done through federal grants and state grants. It's also done through an extensive amount of work from business employers that have recognized the need for what our programs and our graduates have to offer, that contribute financially to scholarship sponsoring. And some of them are earmarked for single moms. Some of them are earmarked for the Latino population. We try to remove barriers for all students so that they can come here and be successful. We have to take a hard look at ourselves and ensure that we aren't part of the problem, and saying that those jobs from the technical colleges, they're great for other people's children, but not for our own. And we have to take the approach that it doesn't have to be, well, you go to a degree granting institution or you go to a technical college.
That's right. That's right.
It needs to be and. We need to continue working on pathways and articulation agreements so that students can continue saving time and money, partnering with our degree granting institutions. For example, we have a great partnership with our nursing program. Utah Valley University holds 8 slots for graduates from our practical nursing program that are admitted into their RN program. Those are the types of things that we need to continue pursuing so that we remove barriers and financially help all students. Breaks my heart to turn anyone away. The waiting lists are just, they're just a burr in my side, and something that we're working very hard to try to rectify. And we'll get there. It's taking us some time. But those are the things that have worked for us here in our region. And again, very appreciative of the state of Utah and the support that they've provided. And Dr. Nooks, as you spoke here at the conference here in Salt Lake City and heard from our commissioner, one of the great things that Utah has done is all 16 institutions, 8 degree granting institutions, 8 technical college institutions are under the same umbrella. And so things years ago when they first initiated this, that credit could be given, it was so restrictive that we had none of the students took advantage of it. It was not, it was very cumbersome and almost impossible for them to utilize the credit. But now this merger into this system, this umbrella has made it possible not only for our regional partners, but across the entire state to partner together on pathways, and the good work that's done in one region can be replicated and utilized in other regions.
Well, Clay, this has been an honor to be able to spend some time with you. Again, I want to just thank you for your leadership, not only at Mountainland, but also to the council, to the state of Utah, and to those who you've been in service to. We can hear by your examples that you believe in putting people first and making investments in those people. And as a result, they become conduits of joy and passion for students. I want to thank you for working with your partners in the community to build opportunities, whether it be, as you mentioned, naming of buildings or providing scholarships or just serving on occupational advisory committees, because their experience and knowledge is certainly valuable to us. And then finally, when we look out going into the future of what the sort of tone is about education in the United States, hopefully people are hearing that career and technical colleges play a critical role. And it's not an or, but it's an and. And as we build these pathways, these stackable credentials, the transferring of credits to just, again, empower and strengthen the pipeline, that's what we all need to be about. It's not one or the other, but it's all of us working together to provide talent to our regions and our communities to elevate the entire nation. Again, it's been a treat to talk to Clay Christensen, our 2024 winner of the Chief Administrator Award in our Hall of Fame. And hopefully by this conversation today, you can truly understand why. The very best to you, Clay, not only now, but going into the future. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Nooks. Thanks for this opportunity to share some thoughts today. Thanks for allowing us to be part of the COE family. It's something that we value greatly.
Thank you. Take care.